Hey everybody, MegaRuler31 back from FSI DFS here to cover the 9-game slate for Wednesday, June 30th. McKinley 412 has another video breaking down the early slate. Hopefully they can get those games in. There's lots of rain threats today, even in the main slate. So we'll get to it. But if you want the early video, just pause this one, check out our channel, go get the information from that one, and then come on back and we'll give you the information, or I'll give you the information for the main one. So like I said, lots of weather tonight. So I'm just going to go game by game. Looks like it's the first 6. I mean, and I think the even bigger danger tonight is that there's rain chances, but it's just so hot throughout the country. And I just hope you and your family and everybody is safe and has a cool place and hydration and everything. While we try to get through this heat wave here everywhere, record temperatures, but thunderstorms could pop out of nowhere and just, downpour, which is the good thing is they only last a short amount of time, but it could mess with starting pitching and everything. But let's not think too much of it. Let's look at this slate just straightforward. What I'll do is I'll go game by game, let you know about pitchers and some hitting thoughts, and then at the end I will go through in the second segment and just rank the pitchers and stacks, and then I will do, as always, a couple roster constructions at the end. So first game up is Philadelphia against the Marlins. Looks like 20% chance of rain around first pitch, progressively getting worse, but only about in the 40s. Jordan Holiday 4-4, starting to get stretched out. If you need a punt, I'm okay with him. Probably only going to get you 10 to 12 DK points, but if you're trying to get big bats in, he's someone to consider. Not a cash play, I don't think. Aaron Nola is probably the lock of the slate. He's my favorite SP1. Is having a great season. So for Miami Marlins, if you want to take a one-off or so here, Jazz or somebody potentially, but I'm not really interested in any of the batters here. Philly, I really like the stack. They're relatively cheap. You have nobody over 6K. The most expensive ones are Hoskins and Harper at 5.3, which is very reasonable compared to some of the other stacks where you got guys up in the 6s. So really like this Philly stack here today. Next game is New York Yankees and Los Angeles Angels. It's in New York City. Shohei Ohtani's on the mound, so unfortunately his home run streak we won't be able to take advantage of because he is batting here. He's decent. The Yankees have struggled, so I'm okay playing him. I think there's a lot of K upside there. So he's definitely a mid-range pitcher that we can consider. Herman on the other side has really struggled, so I'm out on him. So Angels bats, David Fletcher. He, when I get to the roster construction part, is one of my favorite plays on the slate, and that's why I'm going to put him on the cover today. He's got a 12-game hitting streak. He has just been so consistent, and he's got second and third and shortstop eligibility. So when I put in my stacks, he's a very useful guy as a cheap piece to kind of finish things off if the stack's a little bit high, because these two positions are positions that are kind of dead sometimes that you can leave off the stack. So he's like in the perfect position. Rendon, I'm okay with Jared Walsh. I don't think I'd go very much further, even though Herman has struggled. Once you get down to the bottom of this lineup, maybe if you really need some savings at outfield, Renfroe, batting 6, second base, outfield eligibility 2.1K, I think is an okay punt. Maybe Scott Schwarber, but I don't really expect too much here. So definitely some great value plays on this Angels team and a good matchup. Yankees, on the other hand, I like the stack against Ohtani because Ohtani has given up some hard contact. But if I'm stacking them, I would stack like 4 through 8 or 5 through 9. I maybe even wouldn't do Gardner. I'd probably do a 4-man. But if you take like Voit, Torres, Urshela, and Andahar, they're very reasonably priced. They're like 4 or 5 is like the highest one. So then if you wanted to like throw in like Stanton or Sanchez or like one of the upper ones that are over 5K with the stack, it makes it much easier to work in. The next one is Seattle and their in Toronto, Buffalo. You have Justice Sheffield. We played a lot this year, but I'm not taking this lefty against all righty Blue Jay lineup. They just destroy left-handed pitching. So I'm out on him in this matchup. Steven Matz is coming back from injury. He might only go a couple innings. I would not play him. He's a fade. So not taking any Seattle bats, even though it might turn into a bullpen game for Toronto. They just don't work as one-offs. Haniger, I'm not paying 4.7 for a one-off. That's just crazy. Toronto, really like it, but again, it's really expensive. I think if you stack lower on down, like if you start with Vlad and then go Timo, Springer, Grichuk, Gurriel, Espino at third base at 3K. I like him as another flex player to put in lineups if you're looking for a punt third baseman. And there's a lot of stacks where like Philly doesn't have a third baseman that I would consider playing. So in my Philly stack, like I have him there. He's hasn't started in every single game. There's only been a couple where he's gotten like one at bat, but the games he started, he's gotten at least single digit DK points. So it's better than zeros. So love the consistency there. Next game up would be the Boston Red Sox in Kansas City. Mike Minor is pitching for the Royals. He's actually been decent, so I think you can consider him. 8-9's a little high against a Boston lineup who's got a lot of good righties and can throw a lot of righties at him. But I think he's definitely in play. Again, we'll have to look at the weather in this one, because I think this has like one of the worst. Sorry, I didn't talk about weather for the last two. The Yankees game looks about a 40% chance. The Buffalo game looks a little bit like higher and like the 50% chance of rain. Boston starts out, looks like it's going to be raining most of the afternoon, but then it's only like a 20% chance after first pitch. So there might be a delay in this one, but I think this one really looks like it's got a chance to play, especially if it's so hot. Even if it pours, like it just seems like the water things will stay wet and it just gets so muggy, but the water seems to evaporate pretty fast, which is good. So anyways, I like Mike Minor. Martin Perez on the other side. A punt maybe at 6.5. Kansas City has some strikeouts. They've struggled recently, but so has he. So it's the battle of the bad. So who's going to be worse, the Kansas City bats or the Boston pitcher? So flip a coin and hope for the best in that one if you're going either side. So really don't like ton on Kansas City, although Michael Taylor is going to be my lock in all my lineups. Not because he's great, but he has showed some consistency. Also, he's only 2-3 at outfield. He has a great matchup here, splits advantage against Perez. He's hitting a home run in the last 2 games, and he has at least 10 DK points, I believe, in the last 10 games on average. So he's definitely one that with consistency at 2-3 that I consider. He could get 0, but you know what? I want a cheap outfielder to throw into my line. So now that's how I'm going to build my line tonight. I'm going to take Nola. I'm going to take Fletcher. I'm going to take Michael Taylor. And then I'm going to take a 2.3K catcher. There's 4 of them that are possibilities. I think, even though I didn't say I like Seattle as a one-off, since he bats 5th, I think he's going to be the one of my placeholder. And then I'm going to plug in stacks. And then with how much money I have left, there's really no clear SP2 for me here. I'm going to throw them. Whatever money I have left in that range, I'll figure out who my SP2 is. And then if I have some money left over, I'll pay up a little bit more on catcher or another position. Or if I need some money, then maybe I'll have to punt a little bit more or take an off person in the stack, like not as the highest priced outfielder, but maybe a lower hitting outfielder that's a bit more reasonable, but we'll get to that at the end. So kind of my secret of what sauce for today. Red Sox, I like them, but I don't love them as much as usual. I didn't see if San Francisco's playing on the early slate, but I will continue to stack them with San Francisco if they are playing today on the all-day FanDuel. I'm still ahead on that one. So with the Red Sox, definitely Kiki might be leading off. Danny Santana might lead off. You can do a wraparound there. Chavis, Vasquez. I mean, there's so many options with the right-handers against Minor here. The only ones I probably would avoid would be Verdugo. Devers seems to be decent lefty on lefty. Plus, if they get to the bullpen later on in the game, it's probably righties, and the KC bullpen's not great. So Boston, I definitely are one of my favorite GPP stacks. San Diego Padres taking on the Cincinnati Reds. This one has like the highest chance of rain. We're in the 60 percentile here, so I'm not sure about this one. But anyways, Joe Musgrove, I'm okay with him at 9-2. Like he's really not in consideration with the weather here and against a Reds lineup in a small ballpark. Vladimir Gutierrez on the other side, I think I can make a case for him if you're looking for like somebody in 7Ks. Like he's not a bad pitcher. I know San Diego, so he's probably going to give them runs. He's not going to get through this clean, but he could go pretty deep into this game because they've used up a lot of the bullpen recently. So they're going to have to. So, I mean, the other unfortunate thing is if you start him as a pitcher and he starts to get shelled, he might not get pulled. He might just keep up and getting up hit after hit after hit. But he's not a bad pitcher. And I think, potentially – and this is GPP only, I do not play him in cash, but if you need somebody in like the 7K range, he might be a possibility here. So San Diego, love these bats. Tatis is just on fire. Pham Cronenworth, like batting third, like he had the streak of some home runs there. Grisham still up in the lineup. Hosmer's fallen down a little bit. Carantini's even a switch hitting catcher. So I think anybody in this lineup is playable if you want to stack them, but I think they're more of a GPP and cash for me. Cincinnati, their prices have gone way up, and Joe Musgrove is a decent pitcher. So I don't understand. Like Castellanos, I think it was like 4K something. Now he's up to 5.2, Winker 5.9, India 5.1, Votto 4.7. The only one that I would actually maybe take as a one-off is Akiyama here, who's batting fifth potentially at 2.4. I mean, if you need like a couple punt outfielders or if Boston's rained out and this game plays and you want to find somebody to replace Taylor in your build, Akiyama is definitely someone to look at here. Next game up is the Braves and the Mets. Yay, Atlanta, only a 20% chance of rain, should be fine, no problem. Again, could have pop-ups, thunderstorm showers, but I don't see any cancellation here. David Peterson, I know it is very risky against a great Braves lineup, but he's actually had a solid season. 12 to 15, 17 DK points, but at 7.5, that's okay. I think I like him better than the last guy I talked about for Cincinnati in the situation. Is just Braves have had a decent offense. Max Fried on the other side, even though the Mets are starting to get back to full strength, batting wise, doing much better here. They only have a 3.8 total. So Max Fried, I'm very okay with playing. I think he can get you anywhere 15 to 20 DK points. Not a problem. Houston Astros, Baltimore Orioles, they play in a dome, so there's absolutely no weather problem here, which is great. Luis Garcia, I think he would probably be possibly my second or third favorite high-priced pitcher on the slate against the Orioles. He's been decent, probably only get you around maybe 15, 20 DK points, but that's not a problem. Looking at the rest of the guys tonight, I'll take that. The Orioles have Matt Harvey going, who's just horrible, so we're not playing him, especially against Houston, which has the highest total on the slate, I believe. Either they or Toronto do, one of the two, but still. I know they've let us down recently. I think people might fall off them and try something new because Houston just hasn't been producing. Like, they've been getting runs, but not like what we expected with the prices we were paying. So there might be some buyer remorse there, which might help us out. But I think I'm going back to the well. But again, this is a high price stack. So I think I just start somewhere in the middle and maybe go take like Brantley, Alvarez, Correa, Tucker, Toro, and skip like Gurriel and Altuve at their 5K price tags. But it's hard, like the way I'm building here with trying to get that 2.3K outfielder in for the value play. I can't take Brantley, Alvarez, and Tucker and actually end up with a decent SP2. I'd have to punt on somebody. So GPP, that's fine, because I think a lot of people are going to run into that and not take all three of them. So that would give you a little differentiation in your stack. So, but I don't think on a 10-game slate, there's if a bunch of games get rained out, it could get chalky very fast, especially in a game where there's guaranteed no weather. So this is a guaranteed like slam dunk. This game is going to play. On the Baltimore side of it, I think some of these batters, Mullins maybe leading off, Santander, switch hitter, profiles pretty well here. You might be tempted to take Labaya here if you're punting at third base, but his numbers really have been great. I mean, I'm not saying he's guaranteed zero, but I think there's only like a 25% chance that he gets a hit here, and even scores anything up to 5 DK points. So I might avoid him, but if you need the salary, he does start. He bats 6. He's a switch hitter. So in a game that we know it's going to play. So it's better than taking an absolute known zero and playing a player in a rain situation that might not play at all. So Chicago White Sox and Minnesota Twins. Bailey Uber, he's a decent young pitcher at 5'7". He's got a couple pitches in his arsenal. And I think some of his pitches the White Sox might struggle with. I think I saw somewhere they had like a 34% K rate against some of his pitches that he throws. But then again, he hasn't been the best either, had a little control issue. So at 5'7", I actually think he's going to be popular. Looking at some of the information that's out there, it seems like there's some chatter on him as a SP2 candidate here. So I'm okay with it in cash. It does open up a lot, but I don't think I'm going there with most of my money. I might try for a line or two, but I think he's going to be more GPP for me. So I let the others people try it. Like the White Sox are good hitters. They're obviously better against left-handed pitching. So we'll just have to see what happens here. Dylan Cease on the other side, even though Minnesota is good and has some good left-handed bats, I think he's decent. I think I would prefer Garcia against the Orioles, but I think that he, could probably between the two of them behind Nola would be my favorite second high-end pitchers. But the White Sox, I really like. I'm not interested in the Twins bats here. I usually look at like maybe some of their catchers, but Ben Revolt, the guy I can't say his last name, he's 2.7 today. I mean, against a decent pitcher, I'd rather take one of the 3 or 4 2.3K guys, because that extra $100 could matter a lot tonight. Could be the difference between like Fried and Ohtani. So yeah, in some builds it might come down to that. But anyways, these White Sox bats are actually relatively cheap. Like the highest guys are 4.7, 4.8, and Grandal, if you played him in the stack, you wouldn't be punching catcher, but I'll get to that in builds. But Goodwin, 3K, batting second with a splits advantage. There's a lot of good hitters in this lineup that I might take against Uber, and then the Minnesota bullpen, who's average. They're not great. They're not horrible, but I like this White Sox stack, and it's a game where there's no rain. So take that. Oakland and the Texas Rangers. We come to the final game of the slate. Chris Bassett is the highest priced pitcher. He had 145-point game against the Angels, but in like his last 7 starts, like he's only in like the high teens. He had a couple in the 20s, but he had like 2 single-digit ones where he completely got blown up, and one of them was against Seattle. So I just don't see him paying off his price tag tonight. So I'm not, and I think a lot of people might go Bassett, Nola, and then just try to figure out the bats and go up with pitching because there's no sure thing. But I am off him. Like I would definitely rather play Garcia or Cisse over him, or some even the mid-range guys like Fried or Ohtani, even like maybe Mike Minor. I just don't see him paying off his 10.5K salary here. I see him getting anywhere from 15 to 18 DK points, 20 points being his ceiling. That's just not enough. And he's up against a Texas team who I know strikes out and is not the best hitting one. Colby Allard on the other side, I don't really mind him. Like he's been solid this year. I think you're only looking at like 12 to 15 DK points, but a 7.3, I think that's pretty reliable. the A's, the top of their lineup is great, but there's definitely some weaker bats towards the bottom, like Sky Bolton and Andrews, and Jed Lowry can strike out from time to time. Pinder. So I wouldn't hesitate playing him. Okay, so let's look at the breakdown now. We've gone through all the games. So top pitcher definitely is going to be Aaron Nola. And then I think Cisse and Garcia are my second two favorite high ones, and then Basso would be fourth in line. Mid-range, Fried would probably be my favorite, followed by Peterson and Ohtani. Ohtani only because he's playing the Yankees. And then Mike Minor would be a GPP. I think he's very interesting. There's like a lot of risk reward there. He's playing a great Red Sox lineup who's got a lot of right-handed bats, but he has been very solid this year. So, and there's been times that the Red Sox have struck out and struggled. On the low end, I think Uber is from Minnesota is probably the most intriguing option. Allard, I like a lot too from Texas. Holloway as the Marlins guy that we talked about first game that was only 4.4. I don't think he's going to go that long. Might only get like 10 DK points, but at 4.4, if you're trying to get bats in, that's fine. And then Gutierrez, who might have a very long leash because they used up a lot of the bullpen over the last couple games against the Padres, is my favorite low YOLO GPP play. Top stacks would be Houston, definitely Toronto, but watch the weather. San Diego, again, watch the weather. And then Philly, I think I really like them. So Houston and Philly, I think, are my favorite two, but Toronto and San Diego definitely make the top stack conversation. Favorite GPP would be Boston. If they get to Minor with an all right-handed lineup, they're very good. Again, watch the weather. Chicago White Sox, love the pricing on there, so I think that they'd be second. Atlanta, very expensive, but in a good spot. And then LA Angels, I think against Drummond, who struggles, I think you can, there's a lot of value in that lineup, but without Ohtani, I think it's just Walsh and Rendon, and then Fletcher up top, like I said, is one of my favorite plays. And then for a cheap one, Kansas City, New York, and Baltimore. So looking at some lineup construction, I think, definitely I'm just going to lock in Nola, and then I'm going to put Fletcher at second base or shortstop, and then Taylor. So if I'm trying to get in Houston, if I take like Gurriel, Correa, Alvarez, and Brantley or Tucker, I'm going to have to make the decision there. I think I'm going to take Toro. I think I'm going to skip, I don't know, I might not play Gurriel or Altuve, just trying to save some salary here. If I do that, I got to play one of these lower pitchers, but I can get somebody like in the Ohtani Fried range if I drop down to Tucker over Brantley in outfield. If I'm looking at trying to get the Phillies in, which I really like this build, I'd go up a catcher. So I'd play Raul Muto, Hoskins, Segura, and then I'd move Fletcher to shortstop. I already talked about a third baseman that I like that you could throw in outside the stack, a couple of them. Then Harper, Herrera in the outfield, and then Taylor also in that lineup. And that actually gets you up into the 9Ks for your SP2. And then the White Sox, the same thing. I would play Grandal. I went punt catcher there. Abreu, Fletcher at second, Moncada, Anderson. Goodwin is super cheap in the outfield, and Taylor. And then depending where your SP2 is, if you pay down a little bit, you can get a stud outfielder. If you pay all the way up to Bassett, I think it gives you like 2-3 left for an outfielder, which isn't bad. I'm sure you can find another punt there, or maybe it's like 2-4. You can get Akiyama in there, as we talked about, or if you go in the mid-range, then you can get somebody like a 3K outfielder. So lots of options, fun slate. Just please watch the weather. Drop your comments below. We'll try to get back to you, help you out with your lineups. Hit me up on Twitter at MegaRuler31. So you can see in the upper left-hand corner there. A lot of people have reached out to me. We've had some great conversations. Really appreciate it. McKinley and I were talking today that we're halfway through the baseball season at this point. We've already played 90 games on DK if you look at your achievements. So it's a grind, but we appreciate you guys still watching, still going, and let's make some money tonight. But again, watch the weather. So until tomorrow, Mega Ruler out.